Hey guys, Kevin here. What I'm going to be doing in this video is showing you EmulationStation. This is free software that allows you to play classic games, pretty much any game you can think of, any console you can think of. If it can be emulated on a computer, it can be played through EmulationStation, and the number of consoles this thing supports is ridiculous. But at the end of the day, this isn't really the software that's playing the games. This is the front end. This is the nice graphical display that helps you find your games, and it's just a nicer way of playing through your games. I'll be using RetroArch to power the games that I'll be playing through the emulator. Again, this is free software as well. Now I'll get into the, how you do this later on in the video. This is a long video, guys. This is going to be a longer video. So if you're interested in playing retro games on your computer or setting up something, a little arcade or something like that in the future, then this is maybe something you'll be interested in, but it will be a long video. I will be explaining how this works, what you do when you download it, etc. So it will be quite technical at times. Not too technical, but I will be showing you how you set it up. So if you're a gamer, you should like this. And I've got no doubt that you've seen it before. RetroPie is hugely popular, and if you search for RetroPie online, you'll see all these custom systems. You can see there someone set up a little Raspberry Pi there. It's playing the Nintendo. Super Mario there again. They've got it set up on a little tablet. People are setting up these arcades in lots of weird and wonderful places. You'll see them putting it in retro kind of cases. There's someone designed a little tablet arcade using it. That's quite a good idea, actually. I like that. And you will see like arcade cabinets and things like that. Now, this is what I'm hoping to do in the future. I'd like to get more knowledgeable about this and build something like this where I can play arcade games down in my living room with my friends, just set up some wireless Bluetooth controllers. It's a very minimal solution. It's very portable. But I also like the idea, once I get a little bit more knowledge about it, doing something like that, or something like that. It's just something a little bit more portable. So I'd maybe have a portable arcade, but also have a handheld arcade, one for the living room. That is RetroPie, but what I'm going to be doing is dipping my feet in the waters and showing you EmulationStation. So okay, so although EmulationStation isn't supported anymore, it is still good software and it's still free to download. What I'm going to be doing just now is playing it using this, my Sony PS3 controller, and when I plug it in, you should see a lot of different messages. So just for reference, SCP Toolkit, you'll see all the different settings here for it. That was just a little free driver kind of program that I downloaded to help me plug in my PS3 controller automatically. So, I can use any gamepad. I could set it up using, get a Bluetooth gamepad, do other things, but that was something I downloaded the other day. So this is EmulationStation, and if you've seen RetroPie, well, it's pretty much the exact same thing. I've essentially just set up RetroPie on my Windows laptop. That's all I've done, really. And you can see here Nintendo, Super NES, N64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Sega Master System. Right, so there's a few things. I should have Mega Drive here as well. That's not there, so I'll need to investigate that. When you select a system, you'll see, well, here you can see they've got the thumbnail and the ratings, etc. But I've not got all that yet. I've got it for that one. So if I want to change system, I can come back to the main menu and select it that way. But it's easier to just select, left and right in the D-pad, and you cycle through all the different systems. Very, very simple. And the idea is simple. All you do is you go down to a game that you want to try. Let me see, Castlevania. You select it, and it will load up the game. So a few things to note first. First thing you'll probably notice is that it's not loaded full screen. I'm not 100% sure, I believe that you can load it full screen. I just need to set this up, the configuration file, differently. You also notice here that it's actually RetroArch that's powering the game. And again, this is a reminder, EmulationStation is the front end. It isn't, the whole system itself. That's the front end for something else. and push start. So works okay. Now when I close this down, it loads back up to here, back into EmulationStation. Now this is the main menu. When I push start, brings up this main menu. When I push select, I get different options here for jumping to different parts of the game list or editing the game's metadata, where I can add in an image, etc. In fact, I'll explain that better if I do it with a game that has information. So see, you can see this one has got thumbnails and ratings and all that, and you can go through and change it. Now the configuration, there's a few different menus here. I'll go back to the scraper in a second. Some basic sound settings, UI settings. You can show the frame rate, transition style. Configure input, right, so it's got one gamepad detected. So you only need 4 buttons really to control EmulationStation. It's worth pointing out, I'll set this up. A, B, start, select, and I'm actually going to use square and triangle for the page up and down for the game list. Now, that isn't me setting up the controller for the game. Oops, I don't want that. I'll show you something. Now, because I've only set up A and B, select and start. So, the Super NES, for example, has A, B, there's X, Y, and then L and R. And I don't know why I'm scrolling through games, because it doesn't really matter what I'm going to show. Right, there's Jungle Strike. Should be the sequel to Desert Strike. Where I would be actually configuring my controller would be through RetroArch. You want to be setting it up through this software. So for each emulator, you would have to set it up properly. Again, I'm talking from using EmulationStation on a Windows point of view. Things are a little bit set up differently on RetroPie and on a Raspberry Pi. So I'd have to set that up properly, get the controller and all that set up properly. Now, there's a few things here that I don't really like, and first one would be this. If you are as stupid as I was, see when you click quit, the very first option, and it's very easy to push the button twice by accident, it is to restart the system or shut down the system. Those will actually restart your whole computer, which granted makes sense if you are setting EmulationStation up on a Raspberry Pi, using RetroPie. That makes sense because you're restarting, because your only software is, when you've got something like the Raspberry Pi and your only software is RetroPie, then restarting the system is exactly the same as restarting RetroPie. But here we've got quit EmulationStation. So you need to make sure that when you quit EmulationStation like this, you do that, because if you don't, what you're going to find is that your computer will restart. And I was stupid enough that I did do that the first time. So maybe I'm an idiot, but just be careful of that if you're installing this on Windows or on Linux, because you don't want your whole computer being shut down. Now, the other thing here is you saw that there's the meta information here for 10-yard fight. Got it for the Battle of Midway. AI seems to be there. So I believe you select, you can scrape the data for a particular game. Now, here's the problem with scraping. It doesn't seem to work. I managed to scrape a game or two, but when I've tried this before, what happens is the software crashes. So I've got thousands of games, and for me, one of the biggest selling features of EmulationStation is the fact that you can display information about the game, the release date, the thumbnail image, all that kind of thing. Really makes it different, if you can browse the games in such a nice, professional, well-presented way. But whenever you do the scrape, it crashes. So, oh, all right, I've managed to get out there. And I'm going to show you again, just to show you the scraping here. So you can scrape from the game's database or the archive. You can put scrape ratings on or off, and you can, when you select here, you can select it so there's only games with missing images that are selected, or select all games. And here you can select none, or you can, you know, select all, or just select the system. Here's one thing I don't like. See if you go through, see that? Do you see what happened there? So all 7 systems are selected, and remember, I could have 20, 30 systems here. I select none, I go back, and then I scrape now. All systems are selected again. Just a little thing, but it's annoying that you have to go through every time and then select the one that you want. So when I push start now, it should start, but again, it's going to crash. Now, I was reading online about this, and there's a lot of people complained about it, said it doesn't work. A few people said, yeah, they've had no problems with it, but I get the impression it doesn't work, because this is what happens. Crashes the software. So let's take a step back and we'll show you how this works, how this software works. When you download the game, download the software, sorry, you choose Windows, your Raspberry Pi, Debian, which is Linux, or Arch, which I've got no idea what it is, if I'm honest. It's never been updated, so never mind that. If you're downloading it from the EmulationStation website, you'll be choosing Windows, or you'll be choosing Debian, because Raspberry Pi, you should use RetroPie. That is maintained. And if I check here, 20th of March 2017, there's pre-made images. So that's still maintained on a regular basis, and you can see there's lots of comments, there's blogs, there's news. It is an active community. EmulationStation is not. And you can look at the releases here. You know, there just hasn't been any updates over the last few years. So you choose Windows or Linux, you download the exe file or the zip file, and you install it. Now, here's what you need to do next. It all comes down to this main configuration file. So that's my game ROMs. We'll come back to that in a second. What you need to do is you'll see EmulationStation installed, right? But see here, this isn't where you edit it. This isn't where you edit the file. What you need to do is, in Windows anyway, it might be slightly different on Linux. Go to users, go to your account, and you'll see it here. Now there's a tutorial here that shows you how to do this, and it actually says if you type in, where is it? In fact, I'll go from the top. Windows. Configuring. Okay, so here it's here. Just mentally replace this with the platforms, right? Oh, here it's here. If you type in home path, so here, home path, takes you back to where EmulationStation will be installed. So wherever you are, type in home path. So it's % home path %, and it will take you to this area here. And this is where EmulationStation is. And what you need is this CFG file. It's like a configuration file. I'm going to be using TextPad. You can use any text editor you want. I recommend I've been using TextPad since university. God, a long time ago. It's free to download. I find it good. There's lots of other alternatives though that you can use. So I've already got it opened here, and this is the configuration file, and it works very, very easily. Now, but before I show you there, I'll show you the tutorial for it, because it explains it a little bit better. Here's here. So essentially what you do is you've got system listed at the top, and then you've got system. It's kind of just like HTML tags. You put each system in like this, and then system 2, and so on, and then system list at the end. And this is how it works for under system. So this would be the start of one system. That's the end of the next system. And this one's the SNES. So you put the identifier, Super Nintendo Entertainment System. You put the ROM path extension for the that's the extensions that are accepted. Then you've got the emulator path. Then you've got the name of the platforming game for box art, and then the theme. Now it gives you lots of it gives you suggestions to use these names for each system so that everyone is consistent and everyone's using the same name. What I did was, the one it gives you as an example is NES. It gives you a Nintendo Entertainment System to show you how it works. But what I did was, if you just search for EmulationStation sample file or something like that online, you'll find lots of people sharing what they've created, their own files which they've created, and it might give you a head start. But really, if I break it down for you just now, it is very, very easy. Once you understand it, it's very easy. So here's NES. So the short name is NES, full name Nintendo Entertainment System, and you know that will be the name that's displayed. And then you've got path to ROMs. Now you can use like, where is it here? You can use like the little tilde, so that will take it to the EmulationStation folder. But I had my ROMs saved here, so I've got it under C, Gaming, ROMs, and all I did was copy the location, and then I did that, put it there. Oh, sorry, ROMs and then NES. Yep, that's all I did. I did the direct location to the NES. That's all I did. And then the extension is .NES. If you look at, you'll see what the extensions are, but if you look at here, you can see NES file. And for any type of game that you've got, you can see like .NES. So it's really related to the file extensions of the games that you're going to be playing. We jump back here as well, back to NES. We've got command. So what you're doing is, this is the command that you put in for the emulator. And you can see here ROM raw. Now, it seems a little bit tricky, this, but essentially all I'm doing is I'm using RetroArch. So after downloading EmulationStation, download RetroArch, right? So I'll load up RetroArch and I'll show you how that works. But essentially what I'm doing there is, here is the direct link to the RetroArch exe file. So I just loaded up RetroArch, this, and I found it here, Kevin, app data, was it roaming, and then RetroArch, and then scroll down here. So that was my location for RetroArch, and then I've got the RetroArch exe, and you'll see it the same all the way down for each one. For the first one, it's all the same. The command is the same. So each one here, I'm saying load up RetroArch, and then I'm saying load up this emulator. That's essentially all I'm doing here. Load up RetroArch and then load up this emulator, and you can see the emulator is different for each one, but I'll show you that in a second. So I can use an example because I've got one or two that aren't working, that I've not set up correctly. So in RetroArch, you'll see something called cores. Now, this is RetroArch, and I don't think this is the most user-friendly either, but you do get used to it after a while. This is another way to play retro games, but it's just not as user-friendly as EmulationStation. But what you do is you go to load core, and these are all the emulators I've downloaded. So look, this is all the games that are supported using RetroArch. All the Game Boys, Nintendo, these are all different emulators. So when I downloaded, what did I download? Right, so say for example for SNES. For SNES I downloaded SNES 9X because I've used it before. So this one is downloaded, and you can see it's downloaded SNES 9X. What was the name of that? It's there. SNES 9X libretro.dll. This is the emulator file for RetroArch for SNES 9X. So all I did was, for each one here, I'm writing the location. So for SNES 9X I've got that. For NES, I've got QuickNES, and you can see in the cores here, QuickNES. All I'm doing for each one is linking directly to the emulator file, essentially the configuration file for RetroArch. Now, if I jump back to EmulationStation, in fact, hold on, I'll rewind a little bit. You may notice here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8 systems listed here, but only 7 are displayed in EmulationStation. For whatever reason just now, Mega Drive isn't being displayed, so I'll maybe try and troubleshoot that just now when I'm in this video. I'll give you an idea of how it works. Also, I believe the Game Boy Advance emulator isn't working, so hopefully we can bug this together and it'll give you an idea of how you install a new system. So I've got Game Boy Advance there. I'll go back to my controller. So I'll load up Game Boy. You can see Game Boy's working. No problem there. Game Boy Color's working. Game Boy Advance is not. So when you've not got the emulator in the right position, if you click on a game, look at that, nothing happens. It just kind of comes back. Doesn't matter what game you do. So that is a problem with the emulator. The configuration file can't find the emulator. So what I need to do is go back to the configuration file. I can see here that I've linked to GPSP. And all I do now is I go to RetroArch, and why is that going like that? I'm going to escape that. I'll load up RetroArch again. It was going funny. So load core, download core. Right, so what I need to do is find that Game Boy Advance emulator. GPSP, for whatever reason, wasn't working. I'll try this one, Meteor. And if I go into my cores directory, there it is. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to here. This is the Game Boy Advance data. Save the file. I'm not sure if I need to. I probably need to. Probably should have closed that down when I was messing about the configuration file. So I'll load EmulationStation again because I didn't close it down before. So Game Boy Advance. You switch between the mouse and the controller. Okay, Game Boy Advance. Let's see if this is working. Advance Wars. There we go. So now Game Boy Advance is working. Well, I hope it is. It's popping up anyway. Maybe try a different game. There it is. So that one now works. Maybe the Advance Wars ROM that I had that wasn't working. So I will close EmulationStation down for now because we're going to be messing about with this configuration file. So Mega Drive, for whatever reason, isn't working. It's not being listed at all. So I think maybe I've not added the extension or something, but I can double check this. So I've got my ROMs, got Mega Drive. Okay, there's, so right away I can see that's the problem. All of these games are .gen, and if I look down at Genesis, I've got extension .bin. If I put in .gen, in theory, this should work because this is the same emulator I'm using for the Master System and it works fine. So if I save that, load up EmulationStation, fingers crossed I'm going to have 8 systems listed now. Yay, look at that. Pat in the back. So, let's see. Actually, it told me the games there, didn't it? 811 games. So, Bonanza Brothers. I remember reading the review for that when I was a kid. So it's just little things like that you need to check. The emulator location, make sure you're linking to the correct emulator file. But the other thing is extension. So again, I would have to configure this through the emulator. But I've just showed you there how quickly it is to kind of fix it. It's not the most user-friendly per se to set up. You do need to provide your own ROMs. Obviously, get your ROMs from a certain location. You do need to kind of mess about with the configuration file. This isn't just install it and drop your ROMs into a folder. You do need to play around with it. But it's not that hard as it looks. You know, once you've figured out a few key things, and essentially things I've been talking about in this video, it's not bad at all. It's quite a nice setup. Now it does seem a little bit buggy, etc. But once I set this up on RetroPie, I think this is going to be a great little arcade setup. Going to put on lots of different systems. I know it will work in a slightly different way, but I do highly recommend checking it out. So just to kind of quickly go back, EmulationStation is useful for anyone who wants to play retro games on their Windows or Linux computer, desktop, laptop, doesn't matter. If you want to play, use EmulationStation on a Raspberry Pi, then download RetroPie. It's much better. It's a better setup, and it's built directly for that. Now, I will talk about RetroPie in the future, but right now, what you need to do, if you want to set up the way that I've got it set up, and I realise, guys, I'm not an expert on this. I realise there's probably, you know, I can maybe fix the scraping. I can maybe load games full screen. There's probably a few other things that I need to figure out to understand EmulationStation a little bit better. But all you have to do is download it for Windows or Linux, then download RetroArch. And when you go into RetroArch, all you really have to do is load core. No, that's it. Go back. I find this really... Oh, there we go. I find it quite confusing sometimes when I've used to use this RetroArch a lot. I really did. And then it's been a while since I've used it. But you can see at the top, main menu, settings, history, image, music, video. All I do is install EmulationStation. You install RetroArch, and when you come in here, go to load core, go to download core, and then download an appropriate emulator for the system that you want to play games for. Once you've done that, go back to the cores folder. So find where RetroArch is installed and go to cores. And when you've downloaded a core, take the name of it and make sure that's what's being linked in your configuration file. That's all you have to do. To actually, you know, play the games, etc. on RetroArch, you can configure your joysticks and your controllers and that through here and through the emulators as well. You can do it through this. I believe you can do it through this. It's been a while since I've used it. I'm using my controller now and it's causing all sorts of problems. See, I'm using my controller here and my mouse. I'm going to close that down. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This has, for me, been a learning experience as far as giving me a taster as to what I can expect when I install RetroPie. I realise it is a different setup, but if you're looking to just play some games on your computer, I highly recommend checking out EmulationStation. The scraping thing isn't perfect. I need to look into it further. If I do find a solution to the scraping thing, I will share it with you guys. And if I find any other tips and anything like that, I will share it with you guys. But in the meantime, if you're just looking for a cool way to play your arcade games through your Windows computer, your Windows laptop, your Linux computer, then EmulationStation, despite not being updated in 2 years, it's actually quite a nifty little bit of software. So I'll leave links to EmulationStation and to RetroArch, and I'll leave a link to RetroPie if you want to check that out as well. But that is for those who buy a Raspberry Pi computer. Thanks for watching. If you get any questions, let me know. If you've got any tips on this, please do share them in the comment area as well, because I'm sure that other people will find it useful. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.